Kevin was in there.
Deepshikha.
Annil.
Cut. That's a very tough question.
Welcome to the show in an industry which is in love with jargons and acronyms.
Something really positive emotional effect. Change is hard.
It is.
Especially financial industries in general are wired to be complicated.
And let me make it a little bit more complicated for you. In the financial industry, the incentive is to say no. The bank built on empathy.
Something changes in you. Suddenly you begin to see the problems differently. Shopping is a national sport in Singapore.
That 70 trillion is sitting with the current gen. Empathy. It is an overused word, but nobody really talks about
you shall, we shall, blah. And then lawyer ended up having to explain everything. Very dehumanized subject title. Even like when I say it sounds so robotic. Over 800,000, close to 1 million kind of.
Chat GPT has mastered the art of being human. Come to them, they do not experience that pain.
This can become your North Star.
Minimum lovable product.
Okay.
That is a small, finding the signal in the noise. I think the beauty of this episode is that there are so many light bulb moments. Hi, welcome back to season 3 of Vantage Point by DigiJanus. Welcome Jin to the show. Jin, first of all, thank you so much. I know it has been a long day for you. Thank you for doing this in the evening. Welcome to the show, and please introduce yourself.
So first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure and joy to meet a reader and leader in the financial services. So quick introduction of myself. So I'm a designer. I love solving complex problems. And I have been in the financial industry for quite some time. And now I'm really, really passionate about how can we make services and design the products to be really emotionally engaging, based on this principle of simplicity.
Jin, we are back to the community section of our episode. Now, the second question is coming from the community, which is asked by Annil. Annil, go ahead and ask your question.
Hi Jin, hi Laksh. Thanks for giving me an opportunity to ask this question. I'm Annil. I'm working with financial institutions and startups from almost 2 decades. My question is for Jin. Jin, how you manage simplicity during the initial years of startups, or when somebody is building a team from 0 to 1, when there is a lot of chaos, which is good for generating creativity, but often become a hurdle for achieving next level growth. Thank you.
Okay, just like one of the principles is called dance with complexity, I think we should embrace the chaos.
Yep.
And as a designer or someone who drives this agenda to out of this old chaos, dealing with different priorities, I think one of the things we can do is to create a sense of progress. So it will be very difficult, of course. We don't have infinite resources and there are a lot of different priorities. We need to really create small successes and we need to work visually so that people see what we mean by simplicity as opposed to being very abstract about it, and bringing investors and your founders and project team together. And this is also when this identity, the idea of focus comes in, having some sort of strong hypothesis, and we work towards it and iterate it and seeing the progress. What did we learn? How can you do next? So I think there's got to be nice cadence of having sense of progress. Not that you're going to launch something quickly, but people has to feel that we are getting there. Right. And at the end of the day, startups is successful when they really solve a problem that wasn't addressed, right?
Yep.
So what are those problems and what are our potential solutions? So we have to play with those things and while we are dealing with this all the chaos and really dance with those complexity, yet celebrate those successes.
And that is a beautiful answer. It doesn't matter whether you're an established firm or, you are a startup. It is all about finding the signal in the noise, right? And, going around that with the simplicity journey, with the framework that you are talking about, there could be some defined steps on how you can do that. So that is absolutely a wonderful answer. Anil, that is a great question as well. So
it's a tough question though. Yeah.
It is a
not
good
too
question.
happy with my answer, but yes.
No, you do well. You're hard on yourself. So, thank you for that question. Now you use this very nice little term in the book, designing minimum lovable product. And I think I did I get that right? Minimum lovable product. Yeah. Tell us what that means and how is that different from minimum viable product?
So minimum viable product is a great concept coming from, lean and agile movement, where product development team would use this concept so that we can launch something quicker so that we can maximize the learning.
Right.
But because of the term minimal viable, somehow a lot of organizations use this term as a way of making so-so product and launch it anyway, because we just have to launch it fast.
Right.
But the initial intention of minimal viable product isn't to launch that is just minimal.
Yep.
It's really to invest minimal efforts so that we can maximize the validated learning of our customers.
Yep.
So it's never a goal. It was a means to, have this iterative and learning culture, especially in this product development cycle. Now, if you apply this in the business context, because of this misconception, without knowing the true intention, I've seen that decisions are made just because we want to launch something, without fully assessing whether or not this thing we are launching is meeting customers' needs.
Right.
And especially in the financial services, we cannot make any mistakes, right? The startups and the large financial services may have a different working culture, but regardless, financial services isn't something that we can afford to make a mistake in the eyes of customers because we are talking about financials.
Right.
So in order to really keeping this, the learning and iterative culture, at the same time, heighten the sensitivity. What is good enough to launch in the market? I decided to reframe the viable to lovable.
Right.
So actually, I used it when I was working in the bank to change the notion and culture. One, because it was misused. Two, it's because in order to satisfy user needs, being functional, being minimal isn't enough, especially in today's time. So I like to use this pyramid. We all know Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right?
Yep.
In order to be, well-functioning as a human, we need to have a physiological needs met. We need to have safety. We need to have sense of belongings. And then at the end of the pyramid, we have this self-actualization, right? We need to pursue, and then we need to realize our potential, whatever.
Right.
If you translate that Maslow's hierarchy of needs in the user's needs, things has to be functional. Things has to be reliable. Things has to be user-friendly. And then at the top, there's got to be some sort of emotional kind of connection that you live with. So for the examples of Frank, the top that we defined was we want them to feel stylish. I'm myself. I'm expressing myself. That kind of emotional effect that we wanted to live with the users. So this slice, instead of minimal viable product being horizontal slice, let's do something functional and then emotional thing we do it later. What if we do vertical slice so that whatever we release, even though it's not fully featured, whatever we do has full spectrum of user needs, because that's how users fall in love with you.
Yep.
And a lot of people ask me, why love? Can financial services be lovable? Because we are not, right? We are bank or we are insurance company. I use the term love just to create the mental stretch. There's a huge difference between when you are satisfied or when you are in love.
Yep.
When you are in love, the decision-making becomes simple.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. So that's why I put lovable. But that doesn't mean your organization has to be lovable. You can replace that love with something that is more relevant to your organization. It could be minimal confident product. Can we create a sense of confidence?
But the concept remains the same, that you are a you're a vertical slice or a sliver across these needs rather than just the functional need. And we'll have this, as the illustration you have, we'll have it up to problem. So And let me ask you a curveball here. You have been very candid, and this is a very enjoyable episode. You did this research many, many years ago, right? And in all these years, you have had access to more data, more stakeholders. You're an independent consultant now, so that means more diverse kind of projects, etc. as well. Have you gone through a phase, or have you reevaluated parts of the diamond or part of the process and said, okay, it was this? Walk us through that journey, because as a practitioner, you have gone through so much more data now. So how has your thought process changed? Let me ask you that.
Yeah, actually, it has evolved a lot. So the book was written from a perspective of designing customer experience.
Yes.
So how can we design, how can you understand customer, how can you design customer experience based on those principles I learned? So that was the main idea of the book. But then as time has moved on, and as I work with my clients, especially from healthcare, I realized the role of simplicity is kind of shifting. So it used to be like a differentiator, the way we design the outer layer of customer experience. But actually, it has become the enabler for any digital transformation. I've seen a lot of companies going through, fundamental change, right? Things has to be automated. Things has to be now digitized so that we can move away from the manual processes and to be more efficient and to value add to the customers. All this, really, unless it's simple for the employees to adopt the change, nothing will happen. Right. Again, digital transformation is such a big, monstrous word that frighten people. It also means people losing jobs.
Yep.
And the change is forced upon them. So now I have like this very, a lot of like inspirations from this complexity comes from the internal change. Right. While my book was written for the customers, but now I have huge empathy for people within the organization, regardless of what industry, whoever going through some sort of transformation. We as an organization, are we actually making the change easier for people?
Yep.
The way they understand why do we have to change, and then all the new processes they need to adopt, all the new tools they have to use, are we putting enough effort? Like use them as a source of inspiration.
Yep.
So that is kind of my big shift, and I'm very, very intrigued by the whole area of this internal transformation.
We should arrange a talk between you and some of the digital transformation projects I'm seeing. It is so, the human aspect of digital transformation is so overlooked. It is surprising the decisions are being made by humans in the first place, right? So, we've talked about that. Now we're talking about humans. So there is a part of the book, you've touched upon it, is speaking human. So why don't we go through the thought process, very quickly.
So Speak Human, this is something I started as a passion project because I've been simplifying a lot of complex product documents. And then I think my colleague gave me an idea like, oh, maybe you should start collecting those before and after, because we've been changing a lot of terms. So I started, I think that time, was it Tumblr? This social media platform where you can, very simple blogging tool. It's called Tumblr, I think.
I think so.
So I used to have a speakhuman.tumblr.com thing. So I just started collecting those things. And then as the number of examples before and after grew, it was quite amazing. So, and then, as you said, it's such a simple change. You don't have to change your system. You don't have to invest a lot of money to change. You just have to simply rewrite.
Yeah.
So I begin to be super convinced, hey, the way we write is the new interface.
Yes.
Especially in today's day and age, it's not about how buttons look. It's about how information is crafted so that it really helps people to understand better, because that's how we interact with people. If you think about a legal document, right? The lawyers actually, they speak human. They explain what it means. So I'm wondering, can we actually write it that way, the way you explain, as opposed to you shall, I/we shall, blah, blah, and then lawyer ended up having to explain everything. So we work with this amazing group of lawyers in England called the Plain English Campaign. We learn a lot from them. They are a bunch of lawyers, so they know what they're talking about. And then we work with them to simplify some of the really complex words and phrases and terms and conditions in simple English. And the impact is powerful because, first of all, people immediately understand. And also, it made our stakeholders, like legal and compliance, super happy because the moment you rewrite those really difficult terms and conditions in simple term, it can really create awareness, what risks or what kind of legal implication this can have, so that customers are more aware. Therefore, you are reducing the risk that, we don't, we are not in this situation where customer bought something that they weren't aware of, right?
Right.
So you can really start. The reason why you love it, I think, is because it's so simple. You just have to switch your mind. What if your, I don't know, the system was a person, how would he say? What language would he use? What choice of word could kind of give a little bit of personality? Do you know this example of boss uncle? It's like he lives in the Facebook Messenger.
Okay.
I don't know whether he's still around. So it's like a chatbot.
Right.
But then this chatbot is called Boss Uncle. So the goal of this chatbot is to help people identify the bus route. If you want to go from Orchard to Vivo.
Oh, okay.
How can I get there? So you can open your WhatsApp chat, the Facebook Messenger, and then you would, hey, uncle, like, how can I get to Vivo from Orchard, for instance? Then the uncle will say, hey, then you have to take this. So he will like tell you as if like I'm speaking to an uncle.
Yeah.
And sometimes he would just send me a joke.
Oh, nice.
Hey, Jin, are you tea or coffee? Like, this thing about
Yeah.
Like, so funny. Like, how are you today? It's rainy, huh? Like, do you want to take the bus? Should I tell you the route? And so sometimes he would give me a joke, tell me a joke. So this kind of like, seemingly detailed thing can really help people to really understand the product better, also enjoy using such product. So Speak Human has so many different layers. And maybe one of the examples that created the most success might be the way we use Speak Human concept to transform the way we write our correspondences to our customers.
Yeah.
So typically we would write like very dehumanized subject title, and then you have like facts, and then usually it's very messy looking. There's no sense of beauty in that letter, right? Just text.
Right.
And it sounds like machine generated, actually is done by human.
Right.
So we changed like the tone of voice. So the subject line has to speak human. Please decide how you want to receive your dividend, as opposed to script dividend participation bracket notice of election. But even like when I say it, it's like sounds so robotic, right?
Yeah.
So just changing the subject. Please decide how you want to receive dividends. And then of course we also changed. This is action 1, action 2, and all that. And when we changed that, the letter template, like so that every letter that we generate has that human tone, the impact was amazing. And to really persuade our stakeholders, because they were very afraid, like it sounds very too personal. Like we don't write letters that way. We just write what this is about, and then this is it. And like now they have to think, like, how should I write in sentential format, right? So it added a little bit of effort, but really to convince our stakeholders this is the way to go, we had this a little experiment. So we had this existing letter, which has like a notice of election, all the facts and all this. And then we showed this letter to 10 customers who has investment product like this. And then we asked them, so what would you do? Then 2 people said, I get it. I get this kind of thing all the time. Great. 2 people said, oh, I don't have time for this. I will throw it away. But then 6 out of 10 people said, I don't know what it is, but it looks important. Therefore, I need to do something. So what would you do? Then this person said, there's a number here. I would pick up the phone and I will call the call center.
Yes.
Then you may argue, okay, great. Then problem solved. Call center will explain what it is and they can take an action. But then it turns out that time before the automation happened in our call center, each call had been costing us about $7 per call.
Wow.
So hypothetically, really 60% of people out of 500,000 of people who were supposed to receive their letter had called us, if you do quick calculation, blah, blah, blah. Maybe it would have been around, I don't know, over 800,000, close to 1 million kind of
Right.
unnecessary, resources like wasted just because we didn't write in human way.
Right.
Right? So so that's when, wow, we really believe in Speak Human. That's amazing.
And let me ask you this thing, and we live in a very, very strange world. And I'll tell you where I'm getting to. NVIDIA, which is a big, hardware player, their chip events are being covered with so much fanfare. And I was looking at it and I'm like, since when did mainstream media started getting into hardware coverage like this? And what I've realized is all of this is the result of generative AI or ChatGPT and how it has hit people. And ChatGPT, if you ask me, is exactly that.
Yes.
It is conversational. It is human. You are not looking at a bunch of links, but I've seen people interact with ChatGPT. They talk to it as an assistant.
Yeah.
They tell them, good job, ChatGPT. I'm like, why are you wasting tokens? And but it is a machine. But they do that, right? So do you think ChatGPT has mastered the art of being human, even though it is generative AI? And that is what is behind such a important, it's like the magnitude of its impact is so large, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think you brought up very good example how powerful Speak Human is. I once read this case study where before ChatGPT, there was a GPT.
Yeah.
Which is equally powerful.
Yeah.
And then it took them, I don't remember exact figure, maybe a month or a couple of weeks for people to start adopting it. But when they changed GPT into ChatGPT, this conversational interface, that's when adoption was, within a few days.
Right.
Like they reached the millions of users, because it felt so natural.
Right.
I mean, I'm not AI expert in this case, so I cannot say they master it, but it does feel very, very natural.
It feels like a conversation.
That's why a lot of people are afraid of losing job. I mean, because it feels so real, right?
Yeah.
And then it will only be sophisticated. It will evolve.
Yeah.
So that's power of really taking conversational interface, emulate what humans are designed to do.
Right.
By machine. That's how the adoption can grow. That's how people have immediate connection, and then they find it very simple to use.
Right.
So that's exactly ethos of Speak Human.
So, Mr. Sam Altman, you owe Jin at least a few shares in OpenAI.
Yeah.
And me as well, for bringing this connection back here. And then this is a wonderful, wonderful conversation because, this is such a human conversation. It is not back me interrogating you or, you trying to read a PR script, and stuff. And so now we have talked about, these different aspects. This whole process is about bringing simplicity to complexity, right? And you have that one pillar or within the diamond or, a face of the diamond called dancing with complexity. I think the audience appreciates that there is going to be complexity, right? And so what I would love for you to talk through is that pain sponge.
Okay.
Because that is amazing. See, now how do you become the pain sponge? How do you take it forward? And how does that impact? I think that is where we should focus this next part, right?
Okay.
So talk us through that.
Pain sponge. So actually, I cannot take credit for it because it was gift from my boss, my ex-boss.
Right.
So one day I was working late to really simplify the form that we were designing. At that time was the very beginning of our Simpler City journey.
Right.
So I really wanted to, show, our stakeholders the impact of Simpler City. So I've been looking at all the data points and prototyping it and, looking at all the options and then working really late at night. And then as my boss passed by, he saw how much I was in pain,
right?
How much I was suffering. And then the next morning, he passed by, he was going home and then he said, Jin, just suck up all the pain.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, thanks. And then he went home. The next day, he came to the office and he actually brought a sponge and put it on my desk. Now, this is your pain sponge. Soak it up. And I had to laugh so hard because it was so hilarious. At the same time, It was like so spot on. And then like when I was looking at the sponge, it gave me a lot of those inspiration because when you use metaphor, right? What does sponge do?
Yeah.
It soaks up all the messiness, dirt.
Yeah.
And then if you are the sponge, you are actually taking all the pain.
Yes.
Therefore, it leaves with clean state, simple experience for the customers.
Yeah.
And to make things simple, it's hard. I mean, we know it. The reason why simplicity doesn't happen is because it's hard.
Yes.
So hard work is not avoidable. It's inevitable, right?
Yes.
Therefore, we have to just have that pain sponge as a mindset
Yeah.
and to soak it up. And then eventually our entire team had our own sponge on the desk. So
Right.
we all had our own sponge, in our cubicles.
And why I bring this up is there is a very important learning here,
Yeah.
if you ask me. And, a lot of times, and when I first read your book, I actually did not appreciate this concept as much as I can do now. Maybe it was because I was an individual contributor back then, and now, you're leading people and, you are listening to them. So I think there are two ways I look at your theory. And you can tell guys how big a fan I am of Jin, See, pain sponge, if you look at it from, when you are going out to a customer or a stakeholder, etc., you want to take all that pain and you want to make it as simple for your customer as possible. So, a lot of times people will ask, oh, how do we become that go-to person to, for that next promotion? How do we become that go-to person that people want them to lead this project, etc.? Mm-hmm. Your boss, your leader wants you to be the pain sponge. They want you to be quicker, faster, better, so that when you come to them, they do not experience that pain. That is, and you can only experience that once you're on the other side, like when you are an individual contributor, you really can't really do that. And so if you are aspiring to be a leader, etc., and so when, before you, there have been some leaders and you ask them and they say, keep delivering. And, but I am going to give a sponge to everybody who I work with, irrespective of whether they report to me, not report to me. Because that in essence defines what we are here to do. Take the pain away from people. So I absolutely, that you should basically merchandise it and say, this pain sponge by Jin. And, it is a great metaphor that our jobs are existing because we are there to take the pain away from the process of, dealing with us or working with us. So as long as you are aiming for that, you'll be absolutely fantastic. And so, it is a really good metaphor. It is a really good reminder of, how we have to do that. And so I'll send a Scotch-Brite, sponge to everybody who works now and say like, this is guys what we are aiming for. So a great example there. And the last part of the book is, and, we are in the home stretch. You have had a long day, is about focus. Mm-hmm. See, nobody is questioning the focus, etc. and stuff. I think everybody appreciates that part and, not undermining your work. But I think one thing that you have done differently in that whole focus segment is about job to be done, JTBD. So define what is job to be done, and then we'll go layer by layer into this. Rather than, discussing the need for focus, let's go into the layer by layer of job to be done, okay. So that, because that to me was a much bigger takeaway that leads to focus than, talking about focus. So why don't you talk about that?
So focus was the hardest chapter to write because it's actually hard.
It is.
To do. I mean, just like empathy, easier said than done, right? And what are the methods for focus? Hard. There's no method for focus, right?
Yeah.
So this is when I had to be creative. Like I have to kind of reverse engineer. How do we find where to focus?
Exactly.
Out of all the user needs, which are the things that matter? That's just like the example of Frank. In the end, we distill down to 3. Okay, simple, meaningful, and stylish.
Right.
How do we distill that? So I had to kind of reverse engineer. Jobs to be done was devised by Clay Christensen, the late Harvard Business University professor, the innovation group, cut.
Yes.
So he suggested this really interesting lens when we look at, especially consumer situation, consumer's decision, people, we tend to think that people buy our product because they wanted to, I don't know, whatever. But then instead of people buy a product, what if we look at their decision as a people hired our product to get their jobs done.
Yeah.
So the moment you switch buying from hire makes it much more like apparent that there was something they wanted to do.
Yeah.
Because buying could be impulse decision, but hire makes you think deeper. Like what was the reason behind it? So that's one. And then the reason why people hire and our product becomes solutions, the jobs that people want to get done is already there, whether people know it or not. So sometimes people use example, why do people buy a hammer or nail? Because it's not that they wanted to bang on the wall, they want to hang the picture. So this is already a good example. Or why do people buy a drill? It's not because they want to make a hole on the wall. Eventually, they wanted to install something, right?
Yeah.
So this is similar concept, but it's actually way deeper than that.
Right.
Jobs can be functional, such as like, I want to drill the hole so that I can hang the picture.
Right.
But jobs can go way beyond that. So eventually, maybe the job is in that hanging picture, you want to really create home where I feel proud, or maybe I want to create a homey atmosphere, For the financial services too, why do people buy an investment product? Oh, yeah, to grow my money. Yeah, very functional, very, on the surface kind of answer. But why? If you go deeper into their behavior, maybe they just had a baby.
Right.
Therefore, they want to secure my baby's future. Those things will be discovered when we observe people or ask for their stories.
Yep.
So in the financial services particularly, how we can use jobs to be done to focus is really understand not just a functional need. I want to save. I want to grow my money. Why? What's the context? What really drives them?
Right.
So the deeper we go, we begin to identify very fresh opportunities. So while we are still supporting those functional needs, so-called, which is typically easily verbally expressed, but what we can do if you really want to simplify, innovate, things are not expressed verbally. Customers cannot tell you what they want. Just like Steve Jobs famously said that, we don't ask customers what they want.
Yep.
It's our job. So he doesn't mean we don't do market research. We don't talk to users. I think what he meant was more about users can tell us what they do, their stories, but then it's our job to find what their needs are and what kind of things we can support. So I like to look at jobs to be done as a functional thing, but some jobs can be very emotional. Just like Frank by OCBC, people want to feel stylish. They want to express themselves. Some jobs can be kind of social needs, how they want to appear in front of other people.
Right.
Why some people like to drive certain car because they want to associate whatever that brand, express as their, their social needs, right? They want to be shown that way. So I really love, the more I apply this concept, thanks to this professor, this is very interesting and profound lens to really challenge ourselves to get deeper. But what is really interesting here, the application part, in junction with focus, is then once you identify the jobs of customer really ultimately want to do, then you can choose. This is something we really want to be good at.
Yeah.
Nobody is supporting this job. Therefore, our company will be the one taking this job as a primary, something we are very known at. So doing fewer things, but we're going to be excellent at it.
Right.
So that's when I think the
focus comes in.
Yeah, the focus comes in.
Amazing.
Once you identify the jobs that is really undertaken care of, this can become your North Star.
Right. Absolutely. And it is amazing how this model comes together, right?
Yes.
You are talking
so
about
powerful.
empathy, which I will call it as a base, my interpretation, guys. And but obviously feel free to call it a diamond. On top of empathy, you have this focus which comes from job that you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And once you have identified this job, then you define a minimum viable or minimum lovable product. Sorry.
That's right.
And then you dance with complexity. You bring stakeholders together, and then, you go out and, deliver this out to people. And that is such an amazing experience, thinking about it. on how you're going on this journey, on how are you, like audiences have gone on this journey. It has been absolutely amazing. So Jin, thank you. It has been a long interview. We are in the home run, like in the last stretch of this. So there's an interesting question, and this is the community part that, we have addressed before. So Deepshikha, wants to ask a question. This is a very good question. I wanted to ask you this question myself, but she sent it, and I want her to come in and ask. So Deepshikha, go ahead and ask your question.
Hello, Jin. My name is Deepshikha, and I help financial institutions to launch new wealth management solutions. I know you have experience in executive training, and you teach programs on innovating through design thinking and exceptional customer experience. So I would like to ask, what are some of the common challenges that you have observed the business faces in implementing these principles? And how do you recommend overcoming them to drive meaningful change? Thank you.
Wow, very good question. Through training and designing executive program, I learn a lot. And also it allowed me to kind of look at my journey and then like make it in a way that is more shareable and applicable for any organizations. I would think that there are 3 common challenges. One challenge is this, the lack of capabilities in really making empathy tangible. So this is something that I noticed in terms of research method, in terms of involving stakeholders, in terms of co-creating with customers and stakeholders and, investors, those kind of a facilitating capability and like staying true to the ethos of human-centered design. That is one thing that I noticed, especially the beginning part. The second thing is that it's more soft skills of those change makers. We try to convince people. We try to really appeal to their logic, like show business case and all that. These are very important. At the same time, we need to shift our mindset to how can you really inspire people so that they want to be part of the change. So storytelling becomes really important capabilities, yet often forgotten. Storytelling is not only for marketing people.
No.
Really to embrace same as Speak Human, right? The reason why when things are humanized, we immediately get it. Story is the same way because our human brain is wired to understand and share meaning and being able to communicate and take an action because of stories that we tell and we understand. We buy in. So I think these capabilities of being able to tell a story to drive the internal change is really, really crucial. And one of the common challenges I notice because people acquire skill set, whether it's a design thinking or agile, but then it's so hard to drive the change. So this is when storytelling comes in. The last thing is my kind of personal conviction that common challenges I notice is that people are too serious at work. I think we should have more fun.
Yes.
The big difference between my executive class and real project situation is that in project situation, people are very serious because they have a lot of things that they have to deal with.
Yes.
They have a lot of pressure from the top. Therefore, they don't create this creative space where they have fun.
Yeah.
Whereas the executive program, I noticed that people are having so much fun. Sometimes I run 2 days, sometimes I run 3 days, sometimes 1 day. The outcome we come up with, because usually we solve a case study, is amazing. Like accountant, IT guys, typically we think they are not creative. Oh my God, the ideas they generate is unbelievable.
Right.
So that allowed me to think, hey, what if our work is designed that way? What if every meeting becomes like more fun? It'll be amazing. What if people look forward to joining workshop and meeting and sprint, whatever? I think this is where great human experience can be designed. Therefore, we can come up with, amazing innovation ideas and, design lovable experiences. So fun, I feel, is the most underrated kind of values that many organization has to utilize.
That is an amazing answer, Jin. Thank you so much for that. And now, you've taken, thank you. It has been a long episode. Now we come back and we ask you the last question of the evening. Tell me one thing that you would like to change in the financial industry. You cannot say simplify it.
Okay.
That is a small, yes. Because, then we have talked about that episode. So throughout the episode, tell me one thing you want to change in the financial industry without referring to simplification.
That's very tough. As actually the last word that I end my book with is beauty. I want things to be more beautiful.
Right.
I think that's kind of next level of simplicity. And things cannot be beautiful unless simplicity is there, because it's like a putting on lipstick on pig, right? So let's say simplicity is already given.
Yes.
I want financial services to be more beautiful. There are actually financial services that achieve that. For instance, Ellevest.
Oh, sorry?
Ellevest.
Okay.
The former senior executive of Citibank founded this, financial platform for women, especially focusing on investment. Everything they do is so beautiful. The way they design the app and the way they speak, the picture they use, almost like a luxury lifestyle product.
Oh, wow.
Shouldn't money be dealt that way? Because money has everything to do with your aspiration.
Right.
Why does it have to be so like a transactional kind of feel?
Right.
I think we should really elevate. I mean, we came a long way. You might not look at a lot of those, the banking, the digital experiences, and even like the way branches design. I mean, everything has elevated so much more than what it was before. But if you ask me, like where we can go next, I think we should really embrace money being so essential, so aspirational for a lot of people. I mean, for all people, can we elevate it a little bit further? So
right.
That will be one thing. And I would love that if bank or financial services in general kind of embedded into our life better. What if it helps me to build a better financial habit? What if it helped me to buy the best product, So those financial decisions I make, somehow bank knows me. Somehow bank really respect who I am. Therefore, I'm able to really navigate my life, at my best, really like feeling good about myself and really elevate, also pursue my life's aspirations. So that would be my
definition of beautiful experience.
Yes.
Oh, that is amazing. And guys, if you want to see habit building products, how to do that, we did an episode with Niriyal, okay? I am always going to be the salesperson in the room. So thank you. Thank you so much, Jin, for joining us. This is an amazing experience. You have taken us on a journey. The beauty of this episode is, and, with all due respect to everyone that has been on the show, you've taken us on a journey of, how do you think in experiences, how do you define, simplicity, how do you go out and build it, etc. So this has been an amazing episode. Thank you for being part of, our journey. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. And thank you for your real sharp and, honest question. And I think the way you kind of weave the conversation helped me to kind of piece it together, because it's been some time to have written the book. 2-3 years. So yes, it really has taken me to a journey as well.
I'm glad we did that. Thank you.